up, everybody? I'm Baelin Halon, and this is Off the Tusk. Joining me this evening is Aden Kabur, better known around the world as the incomparable Kruser, and secondarily to that, the Conclave Minister of the Mandalorian Mercs. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you taking the time to be with us this evening. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about what got you into the Mercs.
Into the Mercs specifically. Here we go.
Yes.
I had been into costuming for a few years and had actually made a Mandalorian, albeit out of EVA foam. My very first, my very first bucket was Minox Den's mercenary helmet from the Old Republic, and I actually got the number 2, the second one he had cast. So if you played the Old Republic, super sexy helmet. I loved it. And I made an EVA foam kit out of that. I went to a Star Wars photo shoot at Freeway Park in Seattle. And after making that kit, it was just a passing thing. I love Star Wars forever.
Oh, who doesn't?
Right. I went to Portland for Rose City Comic Con. And I was wearing, what was I wearing? I was wearing Krang. I had made a full body Krang from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was wearing that there, and I happened to come across a bunch of Mandalorians. And I'm like, this is freaking awesome. Look at all these. This is great. They had a jail cell, the whole 9 yards. And then I found out that there's a club that actually is dedicated to making Mandalorian armor. And I was like, this is really cool. So I talked with the officers down there in Portland, and then they said, hey, we have a panel talking about the club, pimping the club. So it's at this time I went and sat through the panel and was pretty excited. Went home and got on MandalorianMercs.org and checked out the forum. And I was familiar with forum use because I had been a member of a couple of other forums for fandoms of other things, and just kind of fell into it. Found out that the club had a clan here in Washington that had gone through some turmoil, and it was on its way out. It was down to I think it was 3 official members, and if you don't have 7 within a year, you lose your clan status or whatever. But I didn't have really any contact with anyone here in Washington, and I got on the forums, and I'm like, I want to make this. And I found it awesome to challenge myself as a costumer or a cosplayer, because I could make costumes. I've been making them for a while, but to challenge myself to make something within a sandbox, there's a ton of stuff to play with in the sandbox, but to make a costume to fit someone else's requirements, that's
a challenge.
It was a challenge, and I took it as fun. I'm like, bring it on. Let's do this. And had a blast. Bought a helmet, made a kit, and from start to finish, I think I started constructing my first official kit, and then within 3 months, it was done, and I got approved. I went through the whole pre-op process, which was super helpful, and I got approved on my first try. I was encouraged by the feedback I got because I was open to it. I knew that I knew how to make costumes, but I also knew that I didn't know how to make the costume the way the club expected me to or wanted me to because of the CRLs. So I put myself in the back seat and took all the advice that I was given, and it was great. It was a great experience. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I love your sandbox analogy. I always refer to it as the box of Legos.
Yeah.
You have somebody that gives you the box of Legos. You build whatever you want, but only with what's in the box.
Yeah.
And you're still at that point only limited by your imagination. And you've built several kits for the club, both for yourself and for other people.
Oh yeah.
As have I. And it's fun taking the exact same materials and sometimes even the exact same colors, and how different you can have them be. And that's one of my favorite things about this club is the even within the frame, inside the box, still the amazing amount of individuality that you can have.
Well, here's a question for you. What's the most overused color combination in the club? Do it. Say it.
Red and black.
Red and black. Exactly.
And and honestly, I know the answer as to why.
Mm-hmm.
Is one, red and black always look good together.
Yep.
It is the most commonly used high school colors.
That's why my kit was originally red and black.
My
Viking, graduating high school class of 30.
My first kit was red and black with copper accents.
Yeah.
And it's always a good looking color combo, but like you said, it is the most commonly used color.
Yep.
But even with that, the thousands of different permutations of red and black, and this is where I always tell everybody, unless you really want to be just simple, pick a third color.
Mm-hmm.
And just that little tidbit, like I actually had a tertiary and whatever the fourth color is. My kit was red and black with copper, and my vest was like a blue gray.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else was red and black and just with copper accents, and it worked. But you look at those on a color wheel and it's like, really? But they work.
Yep.
So that's a good question. It's fun.
Yeah. That's when I looked at that, I'm like, I want to do red and black, but I had looked at all the available stuff online, and I'm like, wow, that's used a lot. But if you look at my kit, it's not really red and black. It's gray.
You have red and black and white, and you have a fantastic kit. And you're actually also talking about your kit, and unfortunately, I don't have your picture handy like I used to. Longingly looking at it. You're actually, Yeah, one of those. But you're one of the first people that I actually saw in the club that actually started doing trauma plating.
Oh, it wasn't my invention. I wish I could take the credit, but
it may not be your invention. But again, you're one of the first that I saw using trauma plating, especially to the degree that you did. And I often see your kit referenced, and this is a compliment to your kit, but I often see your kit brought up as an example of trauma plating. And when people are trying to explain, well, it's a trauma plate, this, and how you can use that it's not just about secondary armor, but you can use it to create an additional aesthetic,
Yeah.
Guys like me that aren't exactly built spandex material, I can have a 6-pack and look amazing. So, thank you for inspiring the people that are out there with that. It's kind of nice that you do that for everybody.
And it's funny you said that,
so
the whole
giving.
6-pack thing. The way I looked at the armor and the way I planned out the trauma plates or whatever was I wanted to give the armor an anatomical feel. So that's why it has like the pecs on top of the chest armor and the 6-packs, because I'm never going to have a 6-pack, but my armor does.
The only 6-pack you're going to have is coming from the grocery store.
That's right. It's not a dad bod. It's a father figure.
There you go. So, you got into the mercs, and, going to give some credit where it's due again. Talking about things you talked about, there was a chapter here in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And full disclosure, by the way, for those that don't know, Kruser and I are actually in the same clan. He is one of my favorite people on this planet, and I do consider him my brother. So you're going to hear a lot of inside jokes in this particular interview. So Kevin, you may leave this in or out, but there's going to be some jokes. Where was I going with that? Oh yes, there was a chapter here in Washington that was dying, and credit where it's due, you got approved and kind of said no.
Yeah, no. Once I got my approval, and I think I pestered the former Alor'ad a little bit much because I was new and excited, and I wanted to troop, and once I realized there was a clan here, I started hitting up the boards, and there was no chatter. So I would send PMs, and I looking back on it, I feel bad for pestering, but at the same time, I don't, because it wouldn't have actually became a thing. About 2 months or so after becoming official, the former Alor'ad messaged Tom and got into a 3-way conversation with me and said, they said, hey, this guy's got a lot of drive. We're going to make him the new Alor'ad. And Tom basically said, yeah, you are going to be the Alor'ad for what was Ocean Hawks at the time.
Mm-hmm.
on a probationary, status until the end of the year. The clan's yours. And I'm like, sweet. What's an Alor'ad?
Little did you know what had just happened to your life.
Yeah, little did I know. It's almost what? Gosh.
Well, that was 16.
When's my Mandoversary?
You got approved in January
May.
or no, May. Yeah, May.
So I'm 6 months away from 5 years, and I have not been an officer since. I don't know what it's like to be an official member. I'm kind of, I think it'd be kind of nice.
Because I've said this to you a million times. Once you see behind the curtain, you can't unsee.
Once you see how the sausage is made.
But so then, that's end of the year 2016. And then so flash into January.
Yeah, no, basically they told me, here's the situation you're in. You have to have 7 people in the clan to maintain clan status. So the first thing I did is I called my buddy Steve, who's a humongous Mando fan, a Star Wars fan. He has a mythosaur on his calf from God knows when. He and I have been Star Wars dorks forever. But I called Steve. I go, hey, you're going to become a Mando. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, well, you saw the armor I made, right? He's like, yeah, it's awesome. I'm like, yeah, you're going to be one too. He's like, really? I go, yup. So Steve came over and I basically cranked out his armor in a couple weeks. So he became an official member. And then Joey showed up out of nowhere from Spokane, out of left field. And then I was hosting, yeah, Jaster. Sorry, Jaster. Yep. And then I started hosting armor parties literally every other weekend the rest of that year. And I met a couple people who are now members at Joanne Fabrics. I was getting some fabric for a kit and recruited them. I had my patch vest on and they're like, oh, you like Star Wars? I'm like, oh, let me tell you about Star Wars. It's this really neat thing. And they became members. And then a longtime builder in Shane, he became a member by the end of the year. And it was just literally a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And every single other weekend throughout that entire summer and fall, we became a clan. I think that we ended the year with 10 official members, if I remember correctly.
I believe so, looking at the history books. And then, so this is where I get flash into January 2nd. Ocean Hawks no longer existed.
Yeah, that was a really important thing. I like to try to focus on the positive things, but we have to acknowledge that there were some bad things as well in order to learn from those and move forward. And I thought that it was really important to rebrand the clan, to disassociate from whatever the other Star Wars clubs in the area had thought of the Mercs, because it wasn't favorable. And that was another part of it. I ate a lot of crow. To try to get in the good graces of the other Star Wars clubs in the state. And it went from not being welcome to even walk up to the booth of the other clubs to where, as of now, we have a standing open invitation to their events as long as we roster. And we have a very healthy relationship with the other Star Wars clubs.
I will say, you did a lot of groundwork and I get to reap those benefits. We do have a very strong relationship with the other clubs in this area and the leadership of, Garrison Titan and Camino Temple and Alpha Base.
That was one of the things too. I thought that it was important to become a member of at least one of the other clubs. And so I made a glow stick waving, pajama wearing Jedi.
Now you've completely missed the opportunity to pimp out that you took Ocean Hawks died and was replaced by
Gurreck Clan. Gurreck Clan was sweet. Yeah. And we have now Gary the Gurreck with an awesome logo. Gary the Battle Gurreck. For those of you who don't know what a Gurreck is, If you watch Return of the Jedi, the fiercest warriors in the history of Star Wars are
After the Mandalorians.
after Mandalorians, absolutely, are undoubtedly Ewoks. And one of the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi, Tebow, has a headpiece of this beast with giant fangs coming through its upper jaw, and that's a Gurreck. And Gurrecks were the apex predator, non-sentient apex predator on Endor. So yeah,
And for anybody
that's the story of the Gurreck.
And anybody that's been in most of Washington knows it kind of could double as Endor. So it was
Western half anyway.
Western half, yeah. The other half could kind of double for Tatooine.
Yeah.
And so it was a fitting marker for this clan. So what's been up to date? Now granted, I know that 2020 has not been the trooping year that anybody wanted.
Hey, I've got 2 troops in this year.
I'm not going to count the virtuals. But it hasn't been the trooping year that we wanted. But up to this point, in the almost 4.5 years that you've been with this club, what's been your absolute favorite troop?
That's really hard to decide because there's 2.
Okay, you can give me both. No, I'm kidding, only one.
The most, let's just go with the most impactful troop I ever had.
Okay.
The one that kind of changed everything for me was, unfortunately, it was a funeral. That was a humongous changing point for me as a costumer or a cosplayer. We got a troop request on the forum to go to a funeral, and it was very short notice. It was within like 3 days of the funeral actually taking place, and it was for a little boy who hadn't yet had his first birthday. The family were humongous Star Wars fans, and they were a very large family. They had a number of kids that were older than obviously the one who had passed. And the little guy had troubles from birth, and one of the only things that made him smile or whatever was Star Wars. So the family would watch Star Wars over and over again, and he was just mesmerized by that, according to the family. And they encouraged anyone who was attending the funeral to wear costumes or Star Wars related apparel to try to make it easier for the other kids who were in attendance, because there were so many who didn't this was their first encounter with some subject matter of a funeral, right?
Yeah, which is hard at any age.
Exactly. And for kids and such. Anyway, yeah. So I reached out to a number of people that were in the other Star Wars clubs, and because it was such short notice, they wouldn't do an official troop with them, but some wonderful people from both of the 3 of the other clubs, Saber Guild, Rebel Base, or Alpha Base, and Garrison Titan, showed up regardless of troop credit. And there's some wonderful people that I still am friends with to this day. I think that in 2 or 3 days, we ended up having 12 or 13 people there. And it was a terrible troop. I mean, as far as bad things that you don't like about being in costume for a long period of time on your feet, nowhere to sit, nothing to drink, no bathrooms. Those were all things that were stacked against us. And we had showed up on time. We got into our kits, and then there was a fatality car accident on I-5 that held up half the family from making it to the funeral home. So now we're all in kit waiting for the rest of the family to show up to the funeral. And anyway, we're in kit for over 2.5 hours, standing in a room, hiding away from everyone else, because they wanted us to be a part of the funeral. They wanted us to come in and almost perform, not perform like a combat show or anything like that, but we were to stand guard over this open casket. And it was just so emotional. But I'm so thankful I was wearing a bucket. I felt
I
so
can
bad for the
only
folks in
imagine.
Saber Guild because it was bad. So the funeral, once the funeral was over, they had a photographer as well, and they asked us to stand guard on either side of the open casket as the photographer takes professional pictures of us with their child. And then the parents came to us and they just wept, or they wept. And they couldn't thank us enough for what we had done to make their other children feel some sort of comfort on one of the darkest days their families ever had. And I don't know I'm not a wordsmith by any means, but that changed my outlook on how much of an impact we can have in our community by just dressing up in plastic spaceman armor. And that's at that point, this became more about doing things for others than it became doing something for me. So best and worst troop all in one.
Okay, so that was definitely an impactful troop. No questions about that. Best and no. So you have a best thing ever.
Yeah, for sure. Celebration in Chicago was an absolute blast. But I would, and MercsCon, the inaugural MercsCon down in Daytona in Florida, was absolutely one of the funnest things I've done as a Merc. Hands down, it was a blast. And I can't wait for MercsCon 2. Electric Boogaloo. That's right. But don't let Corey hear you say that.
Yeah. No, that is one of the greatest movies ever of the 80s, and I don't care what anybody else says.
Absolutely. Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo.
That's right.
Sequel that came out 8 months after the original. It was such a great movie.
It was fantastic. I saw that. So to segue a little bit, but that's one of the first movies I ever saw in the theaters twice.
Are you serious?
I am not joking. I saw Electric Boogaloo in the theater twice, and then when it came out on VHS, I wore it out.
Of course you did.
Of course I did.
Because you look like a break dancer.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm an amazingly talented dancer, and I was trying to mimic those moves, and obviously that took off, and I have an amazing career as a dancer.
Yes.
And so let's go back to your MercsCon story.
So MercsCon was a blast, but and I'm looking forward to the next one. But I have to say, hands down, the best thing I've ever done Mercs related was the opportunity to go to the Mandalorian premiere in Hollywood last year. That was an experience of a lifetime. And to have Dave Filoni hold my helmet and to hold Sarah's helmet, because I made Sarah's helmet, little shortcut.
And looking at it like he wants to marry it.
He wanted to make, he wanted to make younglings with that helmet.
Yes.
And it was validating. He looked at that and he's just like, he's looking at her. It's not even my helmet. It's her helmet. But he's looking at this helmet. He's going, oh, the weathering on that is just. And I'm just going, yes. Validation.
That's a hell of, not to steal from that, but to play off the same thing. When you have somebody that's that directly involved in Star Wars, who, at that point, none of us knew, because you hadn't seen anything yet. You're at the premiere. We didn't know what gift he was about to give us. We just knew what he had given us in the past with Clone Wars and with Rebels, and to have him compliment it, the closest I get with that is, I think I've told you my story about when I was at a little con in Texas, and I almost knock over Steve Sansweet, who at the time was the number 2 in Lucasfilm. You had George Lucas, Steve Sansweet, Kathleen Kennedy. I almost bowl him over, and he stops, steps back, nice armor, and goes around, and I'm like, so I because of that, I can completely understand, little Kruser inside your head.
Oh yeah, it was. I grin like a fool most of the time when I'm happy, but I my cheeks hurt so bad after that premiere was over. And Sarah's right beside me, and she's a firecracker, and she was handing literally everyone a Gurreck patch and a hurricane patch from Puerto Rico. She had a handful of those, and she gave one to Pedro, and she gave one to Gina, and she gave one to Dave, and she gave one to John, and it was so stinking cool, man. And the amount of love they showed every single merc on that red carpet premiere was awesome, because they get it. I mean, they get what it's like to be a fan. They're Hollywood, but they're not Hollywood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's especially evident with Filoni. If you watched Gallery on Disney Plus, talking about the show, you could see he's still a fanboy.
Yes.
And he just happens to have, and same with Favreau, he's a fanboy. And I think that's one of the things that we like about you and I have kind of talked about this, but that we liked about what they've brought into The Mandalorian is they're not fans of the franchise wanting to make their own mark on it.
Exactly.
They're fans of the franchise that want to expand the franchise. At least that's my opinion. That's my headcanon.
You're absolutely right. Star Wars doesn't need a visionary to put his spin on it.
We already have that. It was called George Lucas.
They need a custodian. That's what Star Wars needs, is a custodian who understands and can further it.
Yes.
But not... Anyway, that's a story for another day.
Yeah. That's for a different show.
Yeah. And by the way, that is a very nice shirt you have there. Sir.
Why, thank you. This is the Western Regional logo crest. It is a phenomenal shirt.
Where did you get such a wonderful shirt, sir?
I got it on the Mandalorian Mercs Trading Station forums.
I promise, we didn't call each other and plan this out. We just have wonderful taste.
We do. And that and
we have the wonderful taste in hairstyles. Speaking of wonderful hairstyles and beautiful beards, have you noticed how many wisdom threads that I've gotten in this thing this year?
Oh, I have. You have not seen. You can see. I mean, when we met, this was one down to here.
That's true.
But this is, and when I'm not staying up with this, the best part about shaving is you don't notice you're going bald.
Right.
The worst part about shaving is when you skip a couple days and you realize, holy crap, I'm going bald. It's one thing to have a choice. It's something else to not.
Yeah.
So anyway,
this wasn't a choice. I have a horseshoe.
Oh, I have the horseshoe, as you can still kind of see, and then I have it comes like this, and then it stops here, and I have the Friar Tuck patch.
Yes.
So my kids will still, even if I skip a couple days, my kids will come with Nerf darts and go. Before we go any farther, I do want to take an opportunity to give a shout out to Nivek Marev, Anansi on the forums, who not only is our Ruslar Shalish here in Gurreck Clan, but he's also the guy that does all the editing on Off the Tusk and all the videos that Gurreck's put out. I know I don't make your job easy, so I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you.
Absolutely. Best Ruslar this clan's ever had. Hands down. Hands down.
Well, there was one that gave him a run for his money, but
he was lazy though.
He was lazy. I mean, he only got 3 people approved in one day. I'm just saying. No, I will not disagree that Anansi has been a phenomenal boost to this clan. Even this year during the pandemic, he's still very active in trying to get people approved. Good. Helped somebody come out of retirement with the first post-imperial kit in Washington.
Oh, yes. I'm super stoked. I'm so proud of everything that you guys have done in the clan, and I honestly have to say I'm sad I'm not involved in the day-to-day clan activity like I used to be, because that was literally my life for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
just saying, that was your choice to leave.
It wasn't. It wasn't my choice.
You could have said no.
I could have said no. Have I ever said no when someone's asked me to do something?
No, you haven't.
I've never nominated myself for a single position, and I've risen to every single time someone's asked me to help the club. I'm always going to say yes.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So when I moved here from Texas back in 2017.
Yes, I brought you some delicious adult beverages.
Yes, you did. I love to tell the story that I messaged on the forums, hey, I'm moving here, and I get the requisite, hey, welcome, we look forward to meeting you. And I got here, I arrived on a Wednesday, and Saturday morning at my front door, and there's this guy with this fantastic haircut and a sampling of locally made adult beverages, and introduced him to welcome me. And that was that was the first time I met you, and that's when I was like, we're gonna be friends.
Yeah.
And so I got to work with you as the Alor'ad of this clan, and then for some reason you decided to bring me along on the ride. And so then we flash forward to tail end of 2019. Yeah, 2019. And you get called up to run for regional commander of the Western region. Win, hands down, no big. But then very quickly thereafter, you were tasked, as you said, you were nominated, and you're not smart enough to ever turn that down. You got nominated, and like I said at the beginning, for the Conclave Minister, which for those who aren't aware, and I'm going to make you talk about this, the Conclave Minister is the only elected group, or Conclave Minister is the only position on the Mercs ruling council that is elected by the membership. All the other positions within it are appointed from Mandalore and by council decision. But Conclave Minister is literally, from my outside point of view, is literally the voice of the people. You're the only elected voice on the council. And you stepped into that position in January or February, whichever it was, early this year.
February or March, yeah.
And early in this year, you got called up. And so tell us a little bit about, am I right in with what you do on the council? Tell us about what the position of Conclave Minister is.
No, you're absolutely right. Like you said, I'm the only member of the council who's elected by the membership itself. I'm the only council member who will serve a term limit. The term limit for Conclave Minister is 3 years. So I will, in my 3 years, oversee two sets, or two, because regional commanders report. Okay, back up. Sorry. Conclave Minister serves for a term of 3 years. It's the only position that is that has a term limit on the council. And the way the chain of command works, it starts at the clan level, where the Alor'ad reports then to the regional commander, and then the regional commander reports then to the Conclave Minister. And the Conclave Minister works as kind of a conduit, both to be the voice of the club on the council and the voice of the council to the officers in the club. It's a two-way street.
You're like that little fulcrum point in an hourglass, that no matter which way it's going, everything's got to go through you.
Pretty much. And communication is a humongous point of that, part of that. And how things are communicated down has been a big thing that I've had to learn to improve my communication skills. Because I've been I'm a blunt person. Most things in life, in my opinion, are very black and white. There are very few grays. So I've had to learn how to communicate in a different manner that isn't as abrasive, because that is never my intention. If anyone has ever met me and shared a tasty adult beverage with me knows I have nothing but love for the club and the membership of the club and everyone in the club. There's just so much good that we can do in the club. There's no room for any animosity or other extracurricular activity. But I tend to be blunt in what I say, and it's not because I'm trying to be, a jerk.
You're not trying to be 40 grit.
Yeah, hey, it gets the job done. Hey, right or wrong, you know where I stand, right?
I've never questioned that.
But no, it's It's been very eye-opening. It's challenging, especially because the people that I work with on a daily basis aren't people that I appoint. I have no say over my team at all whatsoever. So it's been a humongous learning opportunity to communicate with people who may or may not particularly care for me for whatever reason. Right? Weird. But yeah, so it's challenging. It's challenging. It's very challenging. I enjoy it. I'm up for the challenge. I want to do everything I can to see the club succeed.
Yeah, it's we used to have back in the day. We used to have a term for challenges. It's growth opportunity.
Yes, opportunities for improvement, never a problem.
So, and I know it's fun. I've had the advantage of being able to be a sounding board for you, and I've been a sounding board for you. You know,
absolutely. You've been in the club for forever, dude. So I'm gonna dish on Kevin a little bit.
Oh crap.
Baelin's been around the club for 10 plus years, and he's been there, seen it, done it. He has a glass display case with every rank rope up to council. And
no, I've never made it to council.
I said up to council.
Okay.
And break in case of emergency, so he can fill any role needed at any point in time, because he's, been there, bought the t-shirt, right? Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But no, Kevin's good people, and like he said, truly one of my best friends in this club, and period, regardless of the club, outside the club, yeah. Just good people. I knew when I brought him some tasty adult beverages that day. We spent we went out to what do you name your
the gazebo?
The gazebo, yes. So Kevin lives on Endor. His backyard is literally Endor. And out there he has this beautiful gazebo that overlooks a bunch of things that would kill scout troopers. And we sat out there and we just talked about the club. We talked about our philosophies of the club, what we wanted out of the club, what we've done in the club, what we believe the club's capable of doing. And I knew right away that this is someone that this is a dude that I can jive with.
And
yeah,
it's been thick as thieves ever since.
Absolutely.
I don't throw out
scotch, which is really gross.
You just have no taste.
I don't like the taste of peat moss.
Baby. This is from a guy that will drink IPAs.
No, I hate IPAs.
I have never seen you put down any beer.
Well, true. Yes.
But all right. So, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
It's time.
What are you doing? Speed round?
Lightning round.
I watch this show, man. I'm a big fan.
So
let's do this.
I'm going to talk about something. First question. I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Boba.
That wasn't going to be the first question.
Oh, damn.
See, you're trying to get ahead of me.
Sorry.
Slave One or the Millennium Falcon?
Oh.
There you go.
Slave One, all the way. We'll talk about the new show later, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so Slave One will come back.
Yes.
Okay.
Han or Lando?
Oh, Lando's so smooth. Han.
Han? Okay.
Yeah. But Lando's smooth. Nah, puckish rogue. It's Han. Han.
I can't lie. It's all about Lando.
Lando's smooth, man. But puckish rogue. Anyway, yeah.
Do you want the puckish rogue or the bard? I mean, because the bard can tell you that, a tomato-based fruit salad is salsa, and you're like, oh. So, just saying. That's me. But hey, you picked Han. That's your choice.
No,
okay.
Instinct is Han.
Okay. Boba or Din?
Boba.
Okay.
Still, Boba. Boba's what started it all, man. That's what started my love with, honestly, that's what started my love with Star Wars. It was Boba.
Fair enough. Lightsaber or blaster?
Blaster.
Okay. Leia or Hera?
Oh, Leia. Yeah,
We
Leia.
all did.
Yeah, Leia.
Okay.
Leia. Dude,
So
here's the thing. So Leia wasn't just obviously gorgeous. She was a badass.
yes,
She was a strong, badass female character.
from
She basically, think about her in A New Hope.
that's where I was about to go. When she is watching one, she knows she's about to watch her home planet get blown to bits, and she still lies
Yes, she still lies, and not only that, she talks crap to Tarkin.
with no F's to give.
None
But
whatsoever.
even that, she knows she's scheduled for termination.
Yep.
Stormtrooper walks in, she talks smack.
Yep.
Then they get in the hallway, and she's like, "Give me this! I'm gonna rescue myself."
Will you guys quit jerking around? Give me this. Get this walking carpet out of the way.
That was when I fell in love with Leia.
Oh yeah.
She was not. I don't know if she passed the Bechdel test or whatever it is, but Leia was like, oh my God, she's a strong woman.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I liked, not to get too far off topic, but that I liked about her in the sequels is even though you've seen she's gone through hell and back, she still has that same fire, and she's still Leia.
The sequels, as in what?
The sequel trilogy.
You mean when she turns into Mary Poppins?
Yeah, well, that part I was not a particular fan of, but
yeah, that was rough. Anyway,
that part was rough, but nonetheless, the rest of her attitude throughout it,
yeah,
I enjoyed.
I'm super sad. I never got to meet her. I never got to meet her at a convention or anything like that. I did get to meet Peter before he passed.
I
got to be a part of fixing his scooter.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Sounds like a story.
Controls kind of broke, and the 501st said, "Hey, Kruser, you know how to solder, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Peter's power chair, there's wires broke off the board. Can you fix it?" I'm like, "If you get me a soldering iron, I got you." So me and a buddy of mine run over there, and we get it all taken care of, and yeah, that was kind of neat. Anyway.
Peter was good people. He lived in Carrollton, or just outside of, in a place called Granbury, and he was, any con you get him at, he was just such a gentle giant, and was good people. Okay, we totally killed the lightning round. So
sorry, lightning round. Sorry.
No, screw the lightning round. Let's talk about it. You wanted to bring it up. So first of all, what's your favorite Star Wars?
A movie, Empire.
Anything.
Empire. Hands down, Empire. And then after that, The Mandalorian.
So I have to out myself to everybody that's watching. I am not a Boba fan.
Right.
You've known this, and you still chose to be friends with me, and I appreciate that.
Hey, I like Django too.
But I was not. I couldn't stand Boba. He was nothing but glorified set dressing that did this.
And I totally see. Here's the thing. I understand why people had that viewpoint, because he was overhyped back then.
And then you get to Return of the Jedi. I'm like, okay, we get to see him in action, and
then he gets beat by a Bodor.
He gets punked by a blind man into a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
And so I was, up until I was very much Boba's dead. Boba's dead. I don't care. The expanded universe, I accepted it for what it was at the time. But when Disney said that doesn't matter, I was back. Boba's dead. I don't care. When we hear the leak that Tamara Morrison's going to be in The Mandalorian, I'm not going to lie. I was really hoping he was going to be playing Rex.
Oh yeah.
I was really hoping they were going to throw in a curveball and he was going to be Rex, because we had already heard about Ahsoka was going to be in it. I was like, fuck, yeah, that's Rex.
Did you just?
No, I said fun. Rex.
Oh, okay, fun. Yes.
Fun. And first episode of season 2. You get to the end. This is not a spoiler at this point. If you haven't seen it by now, that's not my problem.
Yeah, that's on you, dude.
We see him, as the speeder bike goes by and he's on the hill, and it's like, okay, there's no one else this can be. And I've already said this to him. I'm going to say it to you because this would be awesome. Can you imagine Anansi in that kit?
In what? The bathrobe Boba?
Bathrobe Boba?
Oh,
he
dude.
could pull that off.
Yes, he could. Absolutely. Just a
Yeah.
little bit of latex scarring. Dude, bathrobe Boba, I want to do that. I'd shave my beard for it. It'd be comfortable.
See, I still think you need to do Old Man Rex.
I want to. That's on my bucket list. So on my bucket list is obviously, because I do other costumes other than Star Wars. Weird, right? For sure, obviously, Karl Urban in Scourge from Thor Ragnarok with my shake weight. Now, after watching The Boys, I really want to do Karl Urban from The Boys. Dude, it's just, yeah. Yep. And then thanks to the Reface app.
I love that.
I bought a gray suit the other day with a Mandarin collar, excuse me.
Oh. See, you and I have very similar facial structures. So
we're very handsome. Yes.
Yes, very handsome. So I love that app, and I've had some fun with it. Of course, as you have seen in many text messages, I'm a big fan of Steve Austin.
Yeah.
And played with Dr. Evil a little bit, but you've talked about doing Karl Urban as the Executioner.
Yeah.
I'm working on. I'm gonna brag on myself a little bit. I've dropped 50 pounds this year, and I'm working on building back up the muscle. I'm gonna get me a long blonde wig and a big hammer. We need to do this.
Yes, I'm down. So yeah.
Back to the Mandalorian.
Yeah, Mandalorian. Yes.
So let's talk about, we're going to, at this point again, if you haven't seen everything, and by the time this gets to YouTube, if you haven't seen it, not my fault, not my problem. That's
Spoiler alert.
Yes.
If you haven't watched episode, what are we on? 4? 2?
I don't even
season,
know. You know what? If you haven't do episode 6.
No, we're not.
Yes, there's only 2 episodes left this year.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, if you haven't watched it, spoiler alert. Now
it's on you. We get to see Boba. And more importantly, 7 minutes, 5 seconds in, what do we see fly across the sky?
Slave One. So, hands down, Slave One is my absolute favorite ship in all of sci-fi.
Did you say ship?
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yes. It's my favorite ship in all of sci-fi. Just from the design, the way it flies, the way it lands, Slave One is the coolest looking thing in all of sci-fi. For me, hands down. And when I saw that, I'm smiling from ear to ear like the goofiest dork you've ever seen. And I've got a tear rolling down my eye. And I'm like fighting it back as hard as I can, because that's Boba. That's my Star Wars. That's my childhood. And at that moment, I was a kid again. And I was so pumped because I knew, here we go. We're going to see more. We're going to develop, and we're going to get to see more of what Boba is, what he's made of. Why was he the most feared bounty hunter? What the deal? What's all of the stuff I had built up in my mind?
Mm-hmm.
Now I get to see it. And seeing that ship was just a moment for me. And I got really choked up, and Sarah makes fun of me over it, but whatever.
Oh, we can get her. We can flip the script a little bit.
Yeah, making Sarah cry is easy. I'm not in a mean way. I'm not in a mean way.
No, I know.
Yeah.
She yes.
She acts like she's tough and she's gonna stab people, but no.
Ship lands. Out comes Boba.
Bathrobe Boba. How comfortable is that costume gonna be?
Dude, again, kind of like you, I'd shave it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I can pull it off as well as Anansi can. When the first episode, or the episode that he first showed up in, appeared in, I actually had him over at the house and we watched it. I had already seen it, and when we get towards the end, I just start doing this. And he's like, what? And I was like, just watch.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you could do that costume. And he just, anywho.
Dude, gaffy sticks. Gaffy sticks or toothpicks.
That was funny.
Yes.
But
and then
they're utilitarian.
Dude, Boba Fett just freaking ganked a bunch of TKs with a toothpick. Just saying.
And so this is, like I said at the beginning, I'm not Team Boba. I have always been, I hated Boba Fett.
You have room to grow, Kevin.
I have, there's room for opportunity. And, I've always been a Jango kind of guy. I just prefer Jango because the one exposure we get to Jango in live action, he takes Obi-Wan and makes him a punk.
Kind of.
He knocks him around like a cheap suit. And then he goes to Geonosis, and the only way you stop him, I mean, how many Jedi does he take out?
Well,
you have to run over him with the giant space rhino and then put him up against Shaft.
With a malfunctioning jetpack.
With a malfunctioning jetpack. Had his jetpack, again, magic, Mandalorians against jetpack in combat. Check them out on the social societies today. But, so Jango at least put up a fight. He wasn't.
Did he, though?
He
was running at Shaft, going pew, 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 and Shaft's going.
No, Shaft was running at him. He was trying. He knew his jetpack was messed up. He was trying to make a tactical retreat.
He wasn't running like a little coward.
No, he was not. Because if he was running, he wouldn't have been facing him.
True. He was retreating.
He faced death head on, not with a boat or into a toothed hole in the ground.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, so that was me. But in this episode, we see, as you said, why is Boba feared? And when you see him laying out TKs and plastic flying everywhere.
So I'm a huge fan of Rogue One.
Rogue One is probably, in my opinion, probably the best cinematic Star Wars since the original trilogy. And I am a big fan. I like the prequels. I'm that guy. I like the prequels.
I do too. And I like the prequels, and I actually like Attack of the Clones. It's like the least. I enjoyed it. I liked it. So
we don't talk about Phantom Menace.
I liked Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace came out in 1999. I was 18 years old. I was still in high school. So while the original trilogy is what I grew up with, even though the first movie came out before I was born, the original trilogy was still my Star Wars, right?
Yes. I mean, that was our age bracket.
I still remember going to the Phantom Menace with my buddy Derek Rich. Hi, if you're watching this. My buddy Derek and I went to watch the Phantom Menace in a tiny little theater in Chehalis, Washington. Tiny little town. It was a one-screen theater. And I was a kid, like a kid.
Oh yeah,
Jar Jar and all. I enjoyed it. It was the first time I watched a new Star Wars on the big screen. Mm-hmm. And I watched the re-releases because I had my driver's license when they re-released Star Wars in theaters, and I actually watched that in an IMAX theater down here. And I watched it then. So I saw the original trilogy or the remastered version. But this was the first new Star Wars.
Yeah, I am of the age. I'm a little older than you, so I have actually seen every one of them on the big screen. Now, granted, when I saw A New Hope, which at the time was just Star Wars,
right?
I was like 11 months old, but I actually have that memory of we saw it at the drive-in because my parents would take my brother and I to the drive-in because we'd pass out and they could watch a movie. But I remember the opening crawl from the back of the station wagon.
At 11 months?
At 11. I don't remember squat else, but then that was also back when I was a kid. Movies would run in the theaters. We didn't have home video, so they would re-release them like the next summer, or they would run as dollar matinees. So I saw Star Wars on the big screen. I saw Empire Strikes Back on the big screen when it came out. Saw Return of the Jedi. And, my dad always I laugh at it now. He had to go see them first to make sure they were kid friendly. So it's like, no, my dad was a Star Wars nerd and he just wanted to watch them first.
I don't blame him.
But my dad is who I went and saw Phantom Menace with. So, and that's part of why I like the prequel trilogy. But we got completely off of track of talking about the current episode.
Oh, yeah.
Boba.
Oh, dude. So Rogue One, going back, like Rogue One had that the scene at the end of Rogue One with Vader in the hallway.
Yes.
And you just go, oh, that was badass, right? We just had that with Boba. That solidifies why he was the most feared bounty hunter. The only person to ever look at Vader and tell him, as you wish. Like he's telling, like he's saying, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just the
kind of had that
to finally see the fruition of everything that was built up about the mystique that was Boba Fett. Why was he such a badass? This is why. This dude just destroyed people with a toothpick. You know what I mean?
And exactly, that was for me. It's like, okay, now I'll take it a little bit different. He's worthy of Django.
Oh, hey, I'll take it.
And that was to me.
He beats the crap. Hey, he beats the crap out of him in a bathrobe. Then he goes and gets his armor, and then you get to see what he can do with his armor on, and the knee darts.
When he comes out with the armor, that was even above and beyond. That was when I went full-fledged fanboy squee. I hit a note only my dogs could hear. My wife and kids are going,
yeah.
But he comes out and he just shows what we've seen what Din can do, with the whistling birds.
Yeah,
that's been kind of his big go-to is the whistling birds and the flamethrower.
Yep.
But we finally see after 35 years, what do those little tubes on the knee do? What are those really anything? Holy crap! Those just knocked a stormtrooper 30 feet back.
Yep.
And
the thing that we thought that was Boba's flamethrower on his left gauntlet,
and he's blowing holes
through guns, dude. Yeah, those aren't flamethrowers. He's shooting people with that stuff. And he punches that TK in the gut, and then launches it.
That whole part was just like, that's what Mandalorian armor can do.
Yes. And then, you're a walking badass.
And then when he dropped, tap, and fires the rocket and knocks it in. I was aiming for the other one. Just smart ass.
But he was. How many times do you watch that episode?
I've only watched it once. He was aiming for the other one.
Yes, he was.
But you know what? The helmet's been backed around, and Cobb Vance didn't take care of it, so it was a little off. But you know what?
You got to recalibrate those sights.
But now he knows. Yeah, now he knows what he's got to do.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's so good. I've watched it 3 times now.
For the first time ever, I was Team Boba.
Good.
For the first time ever, I became Team Boba. I'm still firmly Team Django, but it was just like, okay, you know what? Now I have something I can point to and say, that's why Boba's cool.
Welcome to the party. So no gatekeeping. You're all welcome.
So prior to that, we didn't have
aboard Team Boba.
But then this is where my love letter to Favreau comes in, because he wrote the episode.
Yeah.
He fixed a tragedy. So I know that the title of the episode is Tragedy.
Yes.
Fixed a tragedy. And that tragedy was several years ago in the Clone Wars, when we first get introduced to Mandalorians as pacifists.
Mm-hmm.
And Obi-Wan's asking about this bounty hunter with Mandalorian. Obviously Mandalorian, he's wearing your armor. And you and I have had this conversation. My headcanon was always, he's just somebody that got the armor. And so suddenly Boba or Django, and by extension Boba, are no longer Mandalorians.
See, I always took that the other way. I always took that as, this is a dude who's just trash talking. That's all it was.
He's the prime minister of a pacifist government who is trying to disavow that any Mandalorians are still out there wearing armor and being warriors. No, he's not Mandalorian. He stole that. Don't look over here on Concordia. Yeah. No, stay over here. It was political.
You mean politicians don't tell the truth? Weird.
this is I mean, the next thing you know, was waiting for him at the end of the episode for him to come out and be part of Death Watch and say, execute order 66. Oh, wait, no, that one's taken. 67. Let's do that one. You know, stupid, I understand. But it was a political statement. It was not that Django wasn't a Mando. It was, he was trying to disavow and separate that.
Yeah.
And it was what I call a throwaway line.
I agree. I've always agreed, though. And
then you have Boba. Look at this. My chain code's been in this for 25 years. Boba Fett. There's my father, Django. He was given this, and Din Djarin in one
instantly. He was a foundling.
And he even fought in the Mandalorian Civil War. And in that moment, Jon Favreau fixed a tragedy and restored the honor of Clan Fett and made them Mandalorians officially again. So thank you, Jon Favreau. If you ever see this, thank you.
Yes. Yep.
So that was my opinion.
So we talked about Slave One.
Slave One, yes.
My favorite ship, hands down. To me, the tragedy in this episode was losing the Razor Crest.
That hurt.
Dude, that was a cool ship, man. That was a cool ship.
That was the kind of ship that, honestly, had that come out a few years ago when I was heavily into fanfics, and people that are into fanfics, that's the kind of ship that people would like, oh my God, that's perfect. That's a house. And then, you know, it was only a couple of episodes recently when Mando, I realized that little spot where he kept putting the child, that was his bunk. I didn't ever realize it was that deep. It's like, oh, well, there's the bed. Okay, that makes sense.
Right next to the refresher.
I love the Razor Crest. So seeing it blown to hell.
Yes. That
hurt.
That was a tragedy.
that hurt. That was the actual tragedy. It wasn't.
And after all that work Frank Ippolito did to pimp my ride, to make with fishnet seat covers.
I mean, it was so much effort, and now it's all gone because you got a couple of guys that are up to no good, start causing trouble in the neighborhood.
That's right. Got in one little blaster fight. And my mom got scared.
And Boba got scared, and now you gotta go back to Navarro.
Yeah.
But this was.
Hang on. Time out.
Okay.
I gotta pee.
Okay. I'll pause. All right, man. So it's been fabulous being able to talk to you and catch up with you. As I've said, you're one of my favorite people on this planet. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else you want to talk about, or more specific, anybody you want to throw a shout out to? Maybe someone who's been an outstanding member of the Mercs for you, or anything like that. This is your chance. You've got a platform with dozens and dozens
and dozens of fans
of the Gurreck
and I are WWF fans, WWE fans, WWF fans.
Dude, pro wrestling in general.
Yeah, we're dorks.
I'm a mark. I'm a nerd. I own it. But you know what? There are worse things. At least I'm not doing crack.
Jesus, you went there.
I grew up in Southern California. Of course I went there. So this is your chance. If you want to throw a shout out at anybody, this is your platform.
Obviously a huge shout out to Shortcut. Sarah,
craziest woman I know, putting up with you.
Oh my gosh, she's insane. She lives with me.
Yeah, exactly. She puts up with you.
Right?
But
yeah, big shout out to Sarah, obviously. She's my favorite Mando. You're very close second, but big shout out to Candace.
Who?
My XO. Candy Girl MN_13.
Also known as Katra Stormreaver, who was on a prior episode of Off the Tusk.
Yes, she is my XO and the Conclave Warden. She's my right arm. She's awesome. I couldn't imagine doing the job without her support. She's outstanding. She's a wonderful merc. She's a wonderful member of the club. And she's a wonderful person. So
yeah, I've always been a fan of her. She puts this club and the platform that it provides her to do good for the world.
Yep.
before anything else. And I feel sorry for anybody that tries to stand in her way of doing good for the world using this club.
Yeah.
Because she'll turn it into a club and beat you over the head with it.
For sure. Another big shout out to Bernie. Bernie is Benoit from Twin Sons. As a matter of fact, shout out to all the Twin Sons. I had the opportunity to meet a number of Twin Sons at MercsCon a few years ago. So a big shout out to Dex and Christoph and Bernie and Matthew, all you guys from Twin Sons. You're outstanding. You're absolutely a blast, kicking the pants. Twin Sons knows how to party. They're a lot of fun. But Bernie's been tasked with, and again, we didn't touch on my time on the app team.
Oh, do you want to do a rewind?
Yeah, let's do a rewind, man.
Okay. So Kevin, you can cut this and then we'll put it back at the end, or we'll do a new end and you can cut this last end out, whatever. You'll figure it out because you are the man.
Yeah, sorry, dude. I'm really sorry. We didn't talk. How can we not talk about app team? That's what everyone else says. Anyway.
So, okay. Something that we have not talked about yet. We've talked about your time on the Conclave.
Yeah.
We've talked about your we didn't spend a lot of time on regional command because you were only there for a hot minute.
Yeah, like 6 months. And it was a gross 6 months.
Was it? Honestly, it didn't even feel that long.
Yeah. I was busy.
I bet you were. But we talked about you were, an Alor'ad and technically the founding Alor'ad for Gurreck clan. But something that we would be remiss, we would be derelict, and I would be a horrible talk show host if I didn't remember to bring up the fact that you spent 4 years on the approval team for the Mandalorian Mercs Costuming Club. In fact, even rising up to the point of being a team director. Yeah. If I understand the lingo that you kids use today.
Yeah. So one thing the current personnel officer has done has compartmentalized departments on the app team to try to make it more efficient, more consistent, and quicker in processing applications. I had spent 4 years on the app team. It was September or October, the year I became a member, that I was reached out to and said, "Hey, do you want even more work to do? You dummy." And I went, "Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm a glutton for punishment. Yeah, I like to be abused." So, and I can honestly say the 4 years I spent on the app team was the most gratifying and stressful time that I spent in the club.
Now let's pause for a second. Let's take a step back because we do have some foundlings and some people that may not understand what the approval team is. So let's talk about what is the approval team, or should we say teams technically?
The one thing that's really cool about the Mandalorian Mercs Costume Club is there is one group of people who approve costumes according to the CRLs for the entire club. International, worldwide, one group of people. So in theory, that one group is going to be more consistent than, say, any other club that may have a regional approval body. Because there may be differences between, West Coast approves different than the East Coast or whatever. So the idea of having one body approving all of the kits that come into the club should breed a more consistent result. In my time on the app team, because I was a builder, like I said, I've been a costumer or a cosplayer, and that's the way. And I changed my view on what costuming is. So cosplay, COSPLAY, right? Costume play. I don't consider myself a cosplayer anymore, and nothing against anyone who does, because what I do is more for a cause, a CAUSE, more than anything else. I focus more on doing the thing I love to give back. Big difference between a costumer and a cosplayer, and nothing against either or. I love them both because I've done both and I still enjoy both. Anyway,
yes.
Back to the thing. I started out as just a regular old app team member, and I learned, and I I wanted to know the CRLs inside and out. And because I had basically built my costume without the help of a clan Rousalor, I was recognized for my ability to build according to the rules within the sandbox and understand them. So I got a PM one day on the forum saying, hey, you seem to know a little bit. Would you like to learn a little bit more? And I became an app team member. And then I became a regional Rousseau with another member, Cyper. And he and I successfully launched the first iteration of the regional approval process, the regional app process. So we launched that in the West Coast in 2017 to great success. And it kind of served as the model, which was launched throughout the rest of the club to varying successes. And it all depended on the individual participation rate, because it really depends on,
you can't succeed if no one accepts the help.
Exactly. And it's not a requirement. No one has to go through the regional approval process. I'll tell you right now, you get better feedback. But anyway, that aside, in a perfect world, it's a great process because you get a bunch of more eyes on a kit before it goes to the actual app team to get more feedback on what may need have opportunities for improvement, or to better adhere to the CRLs. So I became a Rousseau, and we did that in the West, and then an opportunity became available in the app team to become a team lead. So the way the app team is structured is there's 30 to 40 people on the app team total, and that's broken up into smaller teams of 5 to 7 people who vote on kits with a team lead and then voting members. Yes, sorry.
No, that was
I
me.
became a team lead of Blast Tech. So there are a number of teams on the app team, and Blast Tech, great blasters, by the way. And Blast Tech was kind of like an island for misfit toys. We were the broken ones who have really dark senses of humor, and
you fit right in.
Oh yeah.
That's why we're friends, by the way.
It is. Blast Tech's a great group of people. Some of the most dedicated people I've ever seen to the club serve on Team Blast Tech. So huge shout out to Blast Tech. Blast Tech for life. Love you guys. And then from there, another position became available because the club was concerned with the level of consistency from team to team to team. And admittedly, a few years ago, there was a humongous disparaging difference between what was acceptable and what wasn't, what passed and what didn't. And it was a problem. And the personnel officer understood that the membership was right. There was some lacking in consistency. So he appointed me as the approval team voting director. So my job changed. I was no longer allowed to be a team lead. I had stepped down as team lead and become voting director. So I was basically all of the teams. I oversaw the approvals for about a year and a half of every single kit that came into the club. I had a hand in giving it a final approval or a fix list. And having one person who was intimately familiar with the CRLs and why they're applied, how they're applied, the interpretation of the CRLs, having one person who understood that, give a uniform, yes or no, increase the consistency hands down. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, so please don't take it that way. Baelin, you know me. I'm not a boisterous person by any means. Yeah, you butthead.
No, you are not an egomaniac. But when you are, as you said before, it's not ego when your resume backs it up.
Thank you.
And it's having been, as you said, I've been with the Mercs for a hot minute, and I've had 4 kits approved for the club. And so I've seen the various iterations of the approval process way back in the day when there was one person that approved kits. And every kit up through that, was one person approved that. That was the first personnel officer, to the first iteration of the app team that was 4 people plus him. So a 5-person total. Actually, no, it was 4-person total because it was 3 plus him. And then they added another one, and that's why the app team logo now has 5 stars. Used to be 4.
Nice. See, I didn't know that.
It used to be 4 stars. The original app team logo was 4 stars. And then they added a 5th one when they went to the 5th member. So there you go. That's why there's 5 stars on the app team logo.
Right on.
So I've seen that, and then I've seen the evolution of the teams. And I will say that since when I got my last kit approved, which was after what you talked about, the regional process being instated, and it was after you had actually taken over as app team director, voting director, I did see an improvement from an outside looking in. I did see an improvement in the consistency, because that was one of the things that I used to look at. And you and I have had that conversation way back of the lack of consistency that honestly, a lot of people don't want to honestly admit that there was. But
human beings, man.
Exactly. And that's the other thing I've said too, is we see what happens when you have an algorithm approving everything, because then you get posts deleted on Facebook for a picture of a caulk gun. Happened. So anyway, my point, it has gotten better. So you're not lying, and it's not ego when your resume backs it up, was my whole point.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you had a hand in that.
So yeah, voting director. That was one of the best times I've had in the club, as having an additional amount of responsibility. It was a lot of fun because I had a hand in approving 1/3 of the club's members. So before I left, when I left the app team, because obviously I had to leave the app team when I became the conclave minister.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at the official member count when I became an app team member, and I looked at the official member count when I left the app team, and I had a hand in approving 1/3 of this club. And that was huge, man. That feel good. It felt awesome. It felt great. And so app team is nothing but love. Huge shout out. I miss you guys.
Well, see, now I'm going to put you on the spot.
Please do.
I'm going to reach back and pull a lightning round question forward.
Okay.
Little lightning bolt. Which was harder, leaving the app team or leaving leadership of Gurreck clan?
Oh, that's hard.
I put a knife in you. I won't make you answer that. I won't.
No, I'll answer. I'd say leaving the app team was harder than leaving Gurreck, only because Gurreck is such a great clan of people who function. And not that the app team doesn't function, but Gurreck was when I left, just a shy under 20 people. The app team was 40. And I had daily interaction, literally daily interaction. I can't tell you how much the app team does. It's literally daily. Every single day you're doing something. You're approving kits. You're talking about kits. Because conversations on a kit can last 3 or 4 days before you come to a consensus on what is or isn't approvable. But Gurreck clan just functioned. It was harder to walk away from the app team than it was Gurreck clan, only because Gurreck clan worked.
Well, and you still technically are here in Gurreck clan, so you still had you're still involved, whether it's officially or not.
Yeah.
So you had that little bit of ointment on the wound. We're going to say that so I feel better about myself.
And it's nothing against, I mean to say nothing against Gurreck at all.
No, I know. I'm giving you a hard time.
That's good. You're a butt. But yeah. All right. So sorry. There's my love letter to the app team.
So there you go. That was your, as you say, your love letter to the app team. All right. Well, unless you have something else you would like to say, sir.
I'm excited to see what Gurreck Clan has for the future. 2020 was obviously a very difficult year.
Dumpster fire.
It was, and I'm proud to say that leadership understands that 2020 has been rough, and that's why we obviously waived the trooping requirement for 2020, and we're talking about 2021 right now because there's no idea as to when things are going to actually turn to normal.
And
when
what will normal be?
Yeah, what will normal be? Perfect. Perfect question. What will normal be? There's supposedly going to be a vaccine available, but how many people are going to be inoculated and when will we achieve herd immunity? So these are things that we obviously, first and foremost, membership health and the well-being of the membership is first and foremost and paramount because obvious reasons. So we just, I'd love to see things get back to normal. I can't wait to troop again. Thankfully, I got to get a troop in on Halloween and hand out candy.
That was a lot of fun. That was a really rough weekend for me. I literally, because of how the club has allowed some of the restrictions, I was able to approve trooping 2 days beforehand for Halloween, and then I had to turn right around and shut it back down again, I think the day after Halloween.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you and those that trooped with you, I was glad that Steven was able to actually get a troop in.
Yeah, Steve, dude, I love Steve. Steve's such a good dude. He's got the Seahawks colored kit, if anyone's ever seen it before. It is not a themed kit.
It's just
blue, and
it has a acceptably paleted color scheme that has been demonstrated to be pleasing to the eye.
Yes.
Sort of.
Very pleasing to the eye.
Until my wife
gets the eye, Kevin.
Until my wife gets a hold of it in Photoshop and replaces that green with a beautiful silver.
Man.
Dude, yeah. I have had so much fun talking to you tonight. I can't wait to see you in person again, and I can't wait to have Kruser Part 2. But on that note, for those of you watching, stay safe, stay healthy. Kruser, I thank you. I'm Baelin Halon, and this has been Off the Tusk.